and we are live.
Oh no!
Which used to be called. Wait, it used to be called Friday Night Live. Then we moved it to Saturday, and of course we can't use Saturday. So I had to come up with a name. So bounced around a few ideas off of many different people, and just to make it easier, we're going to make it Big Daddy Linux Live.
There you go. Then you don't have to worry about what day you run it on at all.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I actually got to change the title of the thing. What the heck? So we just got done recording.
Now you're not going to give away the guest, are you?
Of course I am.
No, you can't give away the guest this time. No way. Keep it secret.
Why, dude? Why?
Because it's such a good guest, man.
I know. All right, we'll keep it secret until I can't keep it secret anymore.
It's a really awesome guest, and we had an amazing interview. And you guys are going to have a real treat. Leave it at that. Rocco, I see it in your face. You're not going to leave it at that. Leave it at that.
Hey, Chip, what's going on? Chip, you want to know who we had as a guest?
No,
of
Chip,
course you want to know.
Chip, let him keep it a secret. Trust me, it's worth it.
Of course you want to
know,
Chip.
That individual could show up.
That individual could show up tonight.
That's why you shouldn't announce it unless they show up.
Well, yes. See, Chip wants to know, dude.
Show some self-control, Rocco.
Oh, no. Ski's in the house.
Ski. Oh, man. Ski must be just boiling over with insults since he hasn't seen us play recently. What's up, Chip?
Ski, I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you caught the last couple episodes of this. So, me and Ryan played Rocket League the one night, and we decided not to stream it. And we ended up like winning every match.
And he's not even lying. We won every single match.
We did. We
and it was really all you, Rocco. Like I felt like you had trained all for this event that wasn't going to be recorded and nobody would see. Real great. Because every other time we play, we lose every game. But then we started playing. We also did some gaming on CS:GO.
Yes, we did.
And here's the good news, guys. We absolutely, some of the games we totally won, which is amazing for CSGO. Think about how long other people have been playing this game. Of course, we didn't play against other people. We played against bots.
Of course. We did. We played against bots, but we still won. Hey.
That's cool.
Hey, were we not the MVPs?
Yeah, that's right.
Say, have you seen how popular CS:GO is on YouTube? I caught a channel the other night, and there was 26,000 people watching it live.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mental.
Well, I don't think that anybody's going to really want to watch us live.
Oh, all 26,000. Once, you know what will entertain them is not our play, but Ski insulting us as we play. Bro.
Yeah, I tell you what, Ski does that very well. Ski, you do that very well. I'm just saying. So you haven't missed a night. So you did hear it the other night when we said that we didn't miss a, we didn't lose a game that night. So I'm just telling you that was not fake. That's not fake news. That's real.
No, Rocco, I generally don't air things that happen behind the scenes.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
During this very important interview with this very awesome individual, you decided to pour a cup of coffee, and I wondered if you edited that out.
Well, you see,
all you see here is this sound that sounds like somebody is.
Well, here's the thing. I got a little story behind that. So, first of all, the first thing is, in the very first episodes of Destination Links, that was like my thing that I did. So, some people found it irritating, so I stopped it. So, I'm sitting there, and we're doing this interview, right? And I'm like, I'm drinking coffee, and it's actually like getting me like to where I'm like burping a little bit. So I'm like, okay, so I look at OBS as we're recording this, and I'm like, oh, I'll just mute the mic. So I mute the mic, and every time I poured my coffee, every time I just muted the mic. Of course, right. I wasn't muting my live mic, so you guys were hearing all the noises. But it was being muted in the actual recording, so
I got you. Okay.
No worries there.
Now I noticed Brad is here, and he has a Linux is Everywhere shirt.
Wow.
Pretty awesome, man.
Michael would be proud, Brad.
It would be cooler if you had a DOS Geek shirt, but you know, if you can't afford one, definitely go with the Linux is everywhere.
It would be better if it was a Destination Linux t-shirt.
Yeah, but if you don't have the money, definitely go with the cheaper Linux is everywhere shirt.
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper.
I'm still waiting for my Destination Linux hoodie I bought.
Really?
Why?
Don't know. It's just not arrived yet.
Oh.
I'll have to go and check.
What did Suda get warned for, Ski?
I don't know. He was doing his usual live discussion, talking about absolutely everything and nothing like he does.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it went completely quiet. And he came back and he's got a community violation on his channel. He's now banned from tubing for a week or a month or something until he's had it reviewed. But we have no idea what he did wrong.
What, does he have more strikes on than that one? Because usually you like get a strike.
That's his first strike ever.
And they banned him for a week?
Well, according to the channel, it says you are now banned from videoing live.
Oh, from the live stream.
From the live stream, yeah. So I don't know what. I had to go to bed, but we couldn't work out what he'd done.
Who was this?
Pseudo reboot.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. That's weird.
I finally got hit on my channel with the
Hey, Todd.
ad revenue blocks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was 2 videos that the video game itself, characters in the video game cussed. And because of that, it basically demonetized them.
Yeah, but Destination Linux got hit with that too.
Are you serious?
No lie. I mean, as soon as I uploaded it, it was the second that I uploaded it. It said, this video is not eligible. You're whatever taken off. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
And they're definitely on the nuclear option.
So I reviewed them. I put them through for review, but it was 2 of them, and they came back, and I think it was a couple days later, and said, they're reinstated or whatever. But yeah.
Wow. Hey, Heather, Ivan, Striker's in the house. Todd.
Ivan, coffee's where it's at, dude. Just saying.
What Ski said? I can see you with the banned stuff. Why would I get banned? My channel's pure as the driven snow.
All right, Scrap. If you're not, or if you're able to, you can join later, dude. We'll be around for an hour or 2.
Now, Rocco, did you send a message to the individual that will not go named that we interviewed to see if maybe they have time to show up tonight?
I did send a message to that individual, and yes.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
Hey, Colin.
Hey, guys. We've got sound. Everything working fine?
What's up,
It's
Colin?
working fine, man.
And no feedback?
Nope.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Zeb, again?
Yeah, again. Good morning.
And again and again.
Is my
I'm
sound?
at a Halloween party, and this is how dedicated I am of a friend to Rocco.
Wow.
I took off my costume, brought with me to the Halloween party because we're staying the night here, my Yeti mic and my laptop just to hang out with you, Rocco. How do you feel about that?
And he brought his laptop, which didn't need a costume because it was running XFCE, so obviously it was scary looking.
And notice how it works. Imagine that.
Ooh. DJ, what's going on, man? Anti-orange bigots. I'm guessing you guys got Philip to come on. No, I'm sorry, Chip, you're wrong.
I've been brainstorming some names for this channel, Rocco, the other night on what's the name? What's it called? Telegram. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see you join for, about time. But go ahead. Hit me with some names here, dude.
All right. Well, I came up with one, but somebody had some negative feedback about it. It was called Lost with a capital, with 2 L's at the start, and it's Linux Live on Saturday tonight. But somebody said Lost doesn't sound too good. The other one I had was called live at Rocco and Friends with a little N, and that's an acronym for laugh. So I thought that was quite had a little pitch about it. But even if it just gets some stuff going, some brainstorming going, some ideas to feed off.
Well, I had to come up with something for the for tonight at least, and I had to change the thumbnail around because I'm sick of it being the old thumbnail and everything.
Right.
So I just went with Big Daddy Linux Live for now.
Okay. All right.
You can
sure.
call it. You can call it Biddle.
Call it whatever you want.
You can call it whatever you want. Just show up.
I even put a little thumbnail on Telegram with the picture of laugh. It's a big L with the at symbol, R, and with a little tiny N and an F. So live at Rocco and Friends. So that was something. Thought that was a bit catchy, but it might just generate some different ideas anyway. Might be something out there that's got some.
I will have to scroll back because be honest with you, I don't always scroll back. I try to, but I don't always.
Yeah, the feeds go through pretty quickly, don't they? So.
Oh no, it's Michael. Oh no,
Michael.
Oh,
the guy above you has a Linux is Everywhere T-shirt on.
Look at that.
Where is he? I can't see.
Hey, Brad,
Maybe
don't
he's
put
not.
that in the washing machine. It won't last.
That is the best shirt ever.
Oh, there.
Ever.
Ever?
Ever. Forever, ever.
Well, how much are you paying people to show up on Rocco's stream with your shirt?
I had not considered that, but that's a
called
fantastic
advertising.
idea.
That's called advertising.
If you pay me, I'll wear your shirt on the stream too.
Everybody gets a shirt.
Uh-oh. Simon's here.
Hi, Simon.
Hi, Simon.
Hey,
Simon.
got this working, I guess. First time doing this on my phone.
Yeah, sounds good.
Simon just told me today that he bought the shirt, so maybe he'll come on the stream next week with the shirt.
Just don't wash
Probably.
it, Simon.
So we have like 3 people with a shirt. Because by the way,
Right.
All the cool kids are wearing it.
Well, you guys are going to have to give me some feedback on what the chat looks like because I changed it around, and Zeb helped me out to kind of get it away from the YouTube-looking chat and maybe a more transparent system. So you have to look through look through the stream and see what it looks like, and let me know what you think.
Well, it looks good now, and I've got it on a really small screen, and it looks fine.
All right.
YouTube defaulted so that for some reason my visuals on the stream is 144p.
Nice.
So fantastic.
You're not going to see that print at 144p.
No, I couldn't see anything at all.
We're going to actually find stream.
But yeah, I like it. It looks nice.
Brad, say something.
Hi, Barbara.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Barbara.
Hello?
Hello.
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 Yeah, it's working, Brad. It's working.
Okay.
So how you doing, Barb?
Pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. Ryan won't let me tell
No.
everybody who the guest was this week on Destination
Absolutely
Linux.
not. It's such a
just
big
got done editing it. And
That
So
is
we have to
rude,
wait.
Ryan.
That's okay.
It's such a big deal that honestly, I mean, I'm not even hyping it. It's like it's a big deal. Like we don't want to break. You don't want to give that away. The patrons pay money to be able to know who it is first. You don't want to give that away.
That's right.
no, the patrons don't give money to. They give
That's
money
right. They
to
get to
actually
hear it first.
see and hear the video first. They don't get paid money to know who the guest
Well, they
is.
get
first.
all of
There's
it.
a
They
difference.
get all of it.
There's a difference. But did I tell you that I started rendering it with Kden Live, and it estimate is 6 hours to
Whoa.
render this thing? Like, wow, dude.
There's so much awesome in the episode. It takes
Yeah.
hours.
How long is the episode?
I think it ends up being like an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 25 minutes.
Wow, that's 6 hours rendering is a long time.
It's a long time, but I had to, of course, somebody who records this with OBS made a mistake.
Uh-oh.
And I didn't transition the scene from the very beginning, so I had to cover my tracks with some fancy PNG files and everything.
That explains it.
Which makes the render time like
I love it because now you
ridiculous.
give something for people to look for.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't.
Michael, you
think...
got to find where he's a pixel off on his
Consider it done.
Well, you know what though? Well, one, I don't think people are going to notice if I didn't tell you. People probably wouldn't notice.
I would know.
No, I'm saying as far as me transitioning everything, because I think I did a pretty decent job at hiding it. But I did notice that the way I have Zoom set up and the way I record it with OBS, I must not have the cropping right, because when you click on any part of Zoom, the bar at the bottom comes up, and you see this faint line at the bottom of the video. And it's the actual top of that bar. So next episode, I got to make sure I crop that just another pixel.
No sleep till that's done, Rocco.
No sleep till Brooklyn.
Uh-oh. Steve's here.
All right.
And he's already having a pop.
What's going on, Steve? You are late. You are late.
The name bar. Are you talking about the bar I made?
No, I'm talking about the like when you look in Zoom, the bottom bar where you have your mic and your video.
Oh yeah.
It goes away when you click off of it, but then it comes back when you click on one of the windows.
Or when you just move your mouse at all.
Yeah. So that like keeps and I have it cut off, but I think I have it like not enough for
all right, Michael, there is a request in the chat that you talk about Linux Mint.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Really?
It's in my show. It's going to be released in the morning, so there you go.
Okay.
No, you can't send people to your show on Rocco's show.
Yeah, that's not right.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I
He does that all the time.
I sent people to
So,
this
first of all,
stream.
you're sending people to wear your shirts on his show.
You shush.
Sending people
You
to
shush.
bring up topics that your show's going to cover today.
Okay, if you would let me
Sell
speak, you
out
would
city.
understand.
At least he's not late this time.
So for one, yes, technically, but that's not the point. But what matters is that I also sent people to this stream on my stream today.
He did.
So
Wait, on your stream?
Because
I
asked
wasn't.
about it.
I wasn't at your stream today. What the
I know
heck?
you were at my stream last week,
Yeah.
or what was the week before? I don't know.
It was last week.
It might have been because you were an hour or more late.
No,
Yes.
Yes,
what?
it's always
an hour late to what?
Your own stream.
No, I was
Uh-oh.
4 hours late to my own stream last week. This week, 2 hours late, 200% progress.
Right. So next week it'll only be an hour?
Yes.
If I keep the same 200%, maybe it'll be 1,000%, and I'll be like 20 minutes late.
Right.
I bet him he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't be on time because
Yeah, I'm probably going to
Works
leave
on
it bet,
it.
more than likely.
it's touch digital style. You got to be late.
Fashionably late.
Right. Fashionably late
But-
because you're everywhere, right?
You what?
You're everywhere.
Everywhere, exactly.
Mhm.
But you can when you're everywhere, you're nowhere. So, what I was saying is that today's stream, I also pointed out people to this stream tonight and said, "Hey, if you're going to be on the,"
That's because I asked about it. I asked the
Simon
question.
posted it up there.
I also mentioned it prior. I just went more in depth when you brought it up again.
Sure.
I'd already mentioned
To
it
answer
first.
the question in chat, we're sorry, Michael's a sellout. You'll have to watch his channel.
What?
So, look, on Destination Linux, we talked about
What?
Linux Mint. Okay, so
You're calling me a sellout?
Yeah,
talk to us
You are
about Linux
accurate.
Mint.
you are accurate. How dare you bring facts?
I would never sell out more than 4,000 times in one show. Okay.
Talk to us about Linux Mint.
getting rid of KDE.
You're not getting out of this. You have to talk about Linux
I
Mint
don't
now.
have to. Talk.
Linux Mint getting rid of KDE. Doesn't it just make sense?
No.
Yes, I think it does.
Yeah. My response is, who cares?
Well, it makes sense to
second
Linux Mint. It doesn't make sense to the people that actually like KDE and run Linux Mint.
Why do they do that?
Ubuntu.
But it's literally right now. It's literally being a duplicate of Kubuntu. That they use the Kubuntu backports PPA on the LTS release.
It's not a duplicate. It's a complete copy. Okay. I mean,
Exactly. It's a copy.
That's what Linux Mint does. They copy.
Linux Mint Linux Mint KDE is just Kubuntu with the reskin. Like, who cares?
It's probably the right time for them to do it because Solus is bringing out a KDE, and that could be the best place for KDE fans to go once that comes out.
I mean, as far as like their decision wise, like if it's good for them, it's absolutely good for them because they can spend less time on it because they didn't really spend time on it anyway.
they didn't.
It was an absolute afterthought, and they barely even do even when they think about it after, they still didn't really do anything on it. They just changed the theme, and that's about it.
Yeah, but I was noticing more and more with all of the releases with the KDE version that they were not customizing it like they did every other version of theirs. They were leaving it like generic Plasma. So
really?
Even the themes weren't. No, even the themes were not matching. So it was, you didn't have the green theme, you didn't have the icon set. It just basically let it be generic Plasma. So it was kind of disappointing because I was always used to them customizing everything because that's what you expect to get when you run Linux Mint.
Michael, please tell me your video tomorrow is 5 seconds and goes, let's talk about Linux Mint KDE. Who cares? Roll the credits. That's all it should be.
It's what it should be. But no, it's 20 topics. And I do talk about I talk about this topic and the Linux Mint Flatpak topic. Neither are very positive, but also not necessarily negative. Because my point in the show is essentially it's good for them to consolidate their efforts because what they're doing, there's really no point to the Mint KDE version. There's no reason. Because Kubuntu already exists and KDE Neon already exists. So if you want an LTS Plasma, there are much better options. If you 5 years ago, KDE for Mint was not bad to exist. It was fine, it was good, and they actually customized it. Well, good per se, but they actually customized and did things, so that was fine. But now it's one, it doesn't really matter, and two, it doesn't matter to them, and it doesn't matter to the community because it doesn't benefit most people, and the people who want. As soon as they went LTS only, it became an afterthought. So at that point, why would you bother with using their version when you could just use Kubuntu LTS and accomplish the exact same thing?
Or Hannah Montana KDE.
Yes, exactly. The best thing
The
ever.
important thing here is the developers for the KDE version on Mint. Are they the same developers that do the Mate and the Cinnamon desktop?
No.
No. So what's happening?
The vast majority of the people who work on the Mint KDE are Kubuntu.
Okay, so it's still not going to relieve anyone to put more efforts into Cinnamon and the Mate desktop. Then is that right, or it will?
It's going to make it where they're not going to even bother with pretenses, so that they're going to be able to spend more time on things that are specific to what they want, and then you can just skip the other stuff. It will save them time, but it's not going to save them more than a week or two.
Right. Okay.
So with Mint KDE, the thing is, I can talk from a perspective of someone who actually was on the Kubuntu team when they had to work with us, and it wasn't my idea to work with, but But anyways, we let them know that we were going to release a huge new software stack into backports, which was, I think it was jumping two I don't know if you want to call it Y versions of Plasma. It was jumping applications, jumping a whole bunch of things, and it was large. So we wanted to get their feedback, and I remember they helped us test a little bit. That they did put out a call for testing, and then it ended up being where they didn't really they gave us things that I think we need to fix, and they didn't contribute patches at all. And it got to the point where we were basically doing the work for Mint KDE to make sure that, because it got to the point where we shipped such an outdated software stack in the backports repository that people in the Mint forums were saying, that you can install it this way, or you can install the newer version that way. And my point being, they were getting restless. Our team was a little bit understaffed at that point, and they still directly took what we could have from backports. They still directly had us do patches. They had us do a lot of the work and the thing that really kind of made me mad about that situation was I don't remember what site it was. Some site did an article about they flipped it the other way around. They said that the Kubuntu team, they said something along the lines of the Kubuntu team is so desperate to have contributors that they turn to Mint to help them with their repository. Like, no, we reached out to Mint because we wanted to make sure that we didn't break their stuff. So my point in all of this is they really didn't do a lot of the work, at least not recently when I was in the team. They didn't do a lot of they did some testing, but that was about it. They didn't really help us at all. Clem is not a member of, which I think Clem is the person who we were in contact with. Clem didn't contribute. He isn't a member of our team. He didn't contribute to anything upstream. So honestly, I think it's fitting that they dropped the KDE version. They were not doing anything anyways.
I would be surprised. I mean, I would not be surprised if they just dropped the XFCE version as well at some point.
Really?
Yeah. Because
but I thought
that happened to XFCE. They didn't really put much effort in that one either.
Yeah, but I thought the idea was the reason that they give is because the work that they're doing doesn't get implemented in KDE. So I guess because of it not being GTK based, so
the work
XFCE wouldn't have that.
The work
problem.
that they do they don't do work for KDE is one, but like the work they do in GTK.
No, I mean I'm talking like their XApps and stuff.
Oh yeah, because they're old and just forks of old and antiquated applications that still currently exist.
But what I'm saying is the problem that with KDE, it not implementing correctly in KDE wouldn't affect XFCE, and that's the reason they gave. Let me try to pull it up here exactly what they said for the reason. Go ahead, Simon. Go ahead.
But so basically, if they try to contribute stuff upstream, in general, the software stack that they want to use, they use older software stacks of things. So when they try to contribute stuff upstream, I remember talking to someone. They did something with Mate where they basically are still using the GTK2 version of Mate. When it seems like everybody has moved on from the GTK2 version of Mate, and they're still holding on to that. They're still carrying patches upstream that allow them to use like insanely old versions of toolkits that nobody uses anymore. And if I sound a bit frustrated, it's because I am, because I don't get why they do that. I don't get why they need to use older toolkit when literally everybody else is moved on.
Well, here is the exact quote from their blog. So when we work on tools like Xed, Blueberry, Mint Locale, the Slick Reader, we're developing features which benefit these three desktops, but unfortunately not KDE. So that's what I'm saying. Like if that's the reason, then that wouldn't affect XFCE because the stuff that they're doing would benefit XFCE.
No, it's because like the XFCE project doesn't actually accept what they're doing. So I guess if they're saying that the stuff they're doing is helping XFCE in their own ecosystem, maybe.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Like when they're developing their apps.
Okay, so they're not talking about the KDE team supporting them or helping them. It's just their own KDE thing. It's separate anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think that they would put that much effort into it anyway because they're not really putting much effort into the XFCE branch as it is. Like that's why they were 2 months late to release that one versus the Mate and Cinnamon version. So there's still. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if they were to drop that one too at some point. But like as far as the Mate, the decision they used to GTK2, that is true. That's accurate. They still, I think they're now like being forced essentially to use GTK3 because there's no building for GTK2 anymore for Mate. So they'd have to repackage the whole thing and rebuild the whole thing. And they're not going to do that. So they probably do have support for GTK3 now, finally, but that's because Mate forced them. And
also, here's the thing with that. The reason I've seen in Mate code where basically Mint is or Clem from Mint is actually an upstream Mate developer. But basically, the code is riddled with places where it allows him to use a very, very old version of GTK3. So even if he's holding on to GTK2, he's still going to use an old version of GTK3 because the code upstream is riddled with it, and the only reason why the upstream code still builds with an older version of GTK3, it's not. I don't think it's like extremely old, but it's an really old version of GTK3 that he's the only reason why the code exists upstream. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. If anything, he's holding back Mate.
Exactly.
Right. I have a question. How many people actually work on Mint?
I don't know
seriously, it's approximately.
We don't know.
It was 2 or 3.
Yeah. So really, they don't even have the person power to be able to do too much.
They easily could, though. They make $20,000 a month.
You're kidding.
Yes, they do.
They get a lot of support from the community, a lot, including big companies like Private Internet Access and everything. Support.
Oh, really?
They have tons of support. Like, they get anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 just on the monthly donation stuff, and that's not even to do with like sponsorship of, like, that's just the people who are like just donating from PayPal and stuff. Like they make a ridiculous amount of money. They could easily afford to have like a whole staff of developers, but for some reason they don't.
So what are they doing with all that money?
They don't say. They tell you how much they get, but they don't tell you what it goes to. Bungie Mate tells you how much they get and what it goes to.
Here's what they said in April 2017 on their monthly news. Many thanks to all people who donate to us and who help out to fund the project. Donations are down to about 60% of what they were last year. They're still quite high. In the first trimesters of 2015, 2016, and 2017, we respectively received $23,000, $40,000, and $25,000.
Wow. And those are down numbers.
Those are down 60%.
So they're getting all this money, but they're really not putting.
We have no idea what they're doing with it.
Yeah. So, but it seems like
much better.
They're really not putting a sufficient amount of manpower into it.
No, they could easily afford to hire people. Like they could probably afford to hire at least five full-time developers. At least 5.
And then maybe it would be a better product.
How many developers on Solus is there? Do you know? On the Solus project?
Technically, there's 4 main ones now. There's definitely 3 main ones. I think there's Josh, Justin, and Ike. There's someone else. I don't remember what his name was. I don't know if he's a main developer or he's just like the guy who packages the KDE stuff.
Is that the pizza guy?
Yeah, the Peter guy. I'm not sure if he's a main developer or not, but I know he's like heavily involved.
And they got features in their desktop already in the budgie desktop that I would have thought Mint would have had in their Cinnamon a very long time ago, to be honest.
And that's the sad part. With Mint, with the amount of money that they get every single month, if they invested that money in places where it would actually be useful and they would tell us about that, I think we would have a much better Linux community, because think about what $20,000 a month does. If that's you get the same amount every month, that's $200,000 a year. Think about what kind of Linux you have if $200,000 a year are being piped into important projects. But no, they decide to. I don't know. maybe they're sitting on the money. Maybe Clem has a multi-million-dollar account somewhere with all the money. You know, you never know.
We don't know. That's definitely true. We don't know. But like as far as like why, what are they doing with the money? No one knows. Why do people keep giving the money? I don't know. Like, because they're not making anything that's warranted that much money.
Well, aren't they also like they're using an older kernel too? If I'm not
They're based on
mistaken.
LTS, so everything.
Okay.
That's
So
right.
they're not forced because you technically can get updates to the LTS. The LTS version of Ubuntu has kernel updates.
Right. I know that.
Yeah, but Mint is a Frankenstein distro.
That kind of sounds that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a lot of the things that you get for Ubuntu can't be done in Mint because Mint has like they'll repackage something, but they don't repackage other things, and they pull in stuff from Ubuntu directly, which creates this weird conflict of things. And if you notice, like they'll say, you know, if you in an update manager they have where that's the 1.5, 1 to 5 rating thing, and 4 and 5 are always turned off because they could break your system. When is the last time a distro of Ubuntu, based on Ubuntu, that does it properly, has broken your system on any update? It would be like maybe 5 years. But it happens on Mint because they purposefully do things that create a potential problem.
So it's almost like they're just kind of taking this little thing and that little thing, putting it in, and everything's tied together with bubble gum and string.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But like, it's just like the issue of like how much money they get. I mean, we give the same money to elementary, for example. And
yeah, I mean, for amount of money that they're getting, and they're not really producing a product that's worth that amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take that same amount of money and give it to any other distro that already has a good record, they would make amazing things. They would be adding a bunch of full-time developers. I mean, the Solus doesn't get that much money at all. Like they have a Patreon and stuff, but they don't get anywhere near that, and they already have a full-time developer in Ike now. So, like,
I watch some of the.
Before we go on, does anybody have the stream playing in the background or anything? Because there's definitely some feedback in the stream.
Not me.
Not me.
No,
definitely not me.
No,
I have it playing, but it's muted.
Okay, because there's like, I don't know, scratching noise or whatever, something. There's some feedback. People.
I can hear that too.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and it kind of just garbled noises.
Yeah.
I think it's what is this? I do ...
Yeah, but I muted that to make sure that was not him. Like I muted everybody trying to see who it was at one point, but it still is here, I guess, unless it's not. It's
not my chat thing again, is it? Like last week?
No, I don't think so.
No,
because you're not pinging up as much as you were last week, so I don't think so.
All right. No, it seems to be in the right spot anyway.
All right. It seems to be.
I can't hear it now.
Yeah,
I can't hear it now.
Seems better.
So continue on. Who was talking? Colin, you were talking.
What was I saying? Oh, yes. I noticed there's a lot of posts on Google Plus from Solus, and some of it I understand, some of it's just right over my head. But it seems to me like Ike has just done some complete automation with everything within Solus that makes everything so much quicker. And for them to push, I don't know, is it applications to push them through really fast as well?
They have build servers. Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually introduced a new build server with new mirrors through a CDN.
Yeah.
Now look at the difference between the development, the amount of development in Solus with the amount of money they're receiving compared to the amount of money that's gone to something like Linux Mint. And think of what Solus could do with that amount of money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also Solus is very open to what they're doing. Like they're open both in like they're open in financial, they're open like technical, they're open like and they don't even get that much money in terms of how much their work they're doing, and they're doing amazing work. Like I'm still waiting for the Plasma Solus and snaps to be fully flushed out, but even right now, it's still fantastic.
Well, let me ask you: do you know if the Solus KDE version is going to be more like Linux Mint, where it's going to be just generic plain Plasma, or they're gonna do it up like they do everything else?
I think they're not gonna do it, super extravagant, but they are going to probably do something to make it look better, because like Solus still has like kind of a style that all of the different versions have. So I would be shocked if they were to not change something. So I don't think it'd be default. I think they might have like Breeze Dark by default or something, or like a combination thing. Maybe. Right.
Colin, I do hear an echo. I don't know if it's your game thing or not. I do hear an echo though.
Maybe it's in the wrong spot. Just hang on a minute. Let me try. I'll put it totally the opposite way. Can you hear anything now? Or?
We're just gonna have to test it, I guess.
That I think that's in the spot it was last week. It's got all sorts of buttons on this thing. Maybe I should buy a more simple one. Any change there, Rocco, or not?
I don't hear the echo. So
okay, good now.
Joe, what's going on?
How you doing?
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
How are you?
Hey, Joe.
Well, the other thing with Linux Mint is they're going to be integrating Flatpaks in 18.3.
Yeah. Also, who cares? I mean,
I do.
It really hurts me to hear all this about Linux Mint, because I've really got a soft spot for them, because I went there after Ubuntu changed to Unity. But I don't know the background technical details of all these distros, to be honest, because I'm no developer. I'm just a user. But
right. But okay, I understand why people are hesitant to think about that part.
Yep.
And I used Mint a long time ago. Like I had it for at least a year, maybe two. Was my main. And then I started like looking into it more, and it started annoying me. When I started like digging deeper into what they were doing, and I just more and more every time I kept digging, it just kept annoying me. It just kept building and building and building. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm gonna try some other DEs. And then I switched to various different things. And then at some point I landed on Arch, and I started trying everything. Then I tried like Mate and everything. And at that point I was like, well, only XFCE and Cinnamon are the ones that are like running how I want, because Mate was not being packaged properly. Because at that point, Mumford like kind of stepped back a little bit from packaging it, so it was other people that randomly did it, and we didn't really know who. Which, by the way, now is no one. So like I decided to just like, you know what? I haven't tried Plasma on this computer. It's probably too heavy. Whatever, I'll do it anyway. And then I did it, and then it was fantastic, and it ran perfectly, and it was flexible, and it had no power of issues. And I was like, really? It took me that long to actually try this, and now everybody should use Plasma.
I don't know what it is about Plasma. I actually, when I see it, I like it. I think it looks stunning and it looks incredible. But when I use it, I don't know. Just for me, it just doesn't suit my workflow for some reason. I don't know what it is with that desktop.
It doesn't suit my workflow either. I changed it.
I'm actually really liking the GNOME desktop. I think it's really come of age, to be honest.
So here's what is funny. I think Plasma is the best DE, the best window manager. Their workflow I don't like. My workflow in Plasma is GNOME's workflow in Plasma.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you've set it up that way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should look at doing something like that then.
I like I used GNOME for a while, for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I even worked on it and maintained extensions for them.
Okay.
And they annoyed me. And I left.
Right. Well, would that annoying have to do with it breaking?
Oh yeah. No, it's actually it wasn't that it was breaking. Is that why they were forcibly breaking it? That's what bothered me.
Look, I love GNOME, but like this whole and the new Ubuntu is great. Okay, it runs great. Minor issue with gaming, but my icons no longer work, dude. My system tray icons, they no longer work. I put on Top Icons Plus, and if I disable that, I have no icons whatsoever. If I use Top Icons Plus, I only have half of them. Like I lost Variety,
right?
I lost Telegram. I don't have an icon for them, so I have it over there on the dock, but I don't want it to be over there on the dock. I want it right there, up there where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it's starting to irritate me now. I like GNOME. I love GNOME, but it's starting to irritate me that I don't have my menu.
Well, okay, so whose fault is that?
That's mine.
No. Whose fault is it doesn't work?
It's the
Their fault.
developers, isn't it? They decided to take it out, didn't they? They ripped it out from underneath that guy who develops it. He wasn't happy or something?
It's different. By default, because he was saying that Top Icons Plus is what makes it work. And it's because Ubuntu doesn't have a choice. They can't use Top Icons Plus. They just can't use it.
Why not?
So, like, if Ubuntu were to ship Top Icons Plus now, and people were like, hey, wow, this works great, and then in LTS, they ship one that breaks, that's going to be a very big problem. So they needed to ship the one that they knew was not as good, because the one that's good is going to die. It's already been declared by the developer that it's going to die. So you don't have a choice. That's like,
and I can
it's
understand,
either you have this or you have nothing.
I can understand having running the Ubuntu GNOME for, I don't know, 5-6 weeks now. I'm still running it now. I can understand that they don't want to have any third-party things as probably as little as possible. So when updates do happen, it doesn't break. So they keep it as simple as possible.
Nothing they have is third-party.
Yeah, that's right. And that probably makes sense really in a way, because it keeps a standard, doesn't it?
Well, they not only do they have to do it in the sense like they can't do third-party because they have to, if they use an extension, they have to fork it. And the reason that is because extensions by default are not installable without a meta package, and they didn't want to do a meta package force, because the meta package force would also kind of break other things. So instead, they made deb files for each of these extensions, so that you can install the deb files, and the deb file itself will activate the extension. That just overall improves the situation a lot.
Right.
So it makes it viable then to ship customized version and still also have extensions by default. So there's a couple reasons, and it's unfortunate, and the live the live ISO of Ubuntu is also confusing people, because
I'm sorry.
That's funny.
But she's getting her face dusted. I couldn't help it.
Oh yeah, I know. Earlier when Simon was talking, I was laughing while she was like rubbing her face on her head.
Yeah, that's the reason I named this cat Creature.
So, well, anyway, what I was saying is that the live Ubuntu ISO is also kind of confusing to some people, because that uses X, and when you install it, it's Wayland. So you could actually have a functional live ISO on your hardware, then you install it and not aware that you're not going to have support for certain things, and then when you install it and boot that install, it's awkward and doesn't work sometimes. Like that itself is also a problem. Like there are multiple.
AJ put a video up during the week on how to get some of those apps that aren't working in Wayland, how to get them to work. That was very interesting.
The only option is
Synaptic in Wayland, he got going. I can't remember what he did now. I have to watch that again, but that was good.
It's only X Wayland. That's the only way to make them work. You're not using Wayland. You're using an X shim inside of Wayland.
Oh, okay. Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay.
So that the only way to make those applications, the ones that are not updated to Wayland to work on in Wayland, you have to use X-Wayland. For example, Firefox is also only using X-Wayland.
Okay.
So it's just a compatibility.
What the heck
layer.
is X-Wayland?
It's a compatibility layer shim that sits on top of Wayland that provides X functionality while still using Wayland as the base. So stuff that requires certain core features of X to display that isn't implemented in Wayland or isn't implemented in the application has to use something in order to function. Otherwise, you'd have a few applications that work only Wayland and then everything else breaks.
So what you're saying is we have a default desktop or a default protocol, Wayland, right? It's by default. But then we have to have a compatibility layer in order to make some programs work. And even then, some programs don't work with the compatibility layer. That's good.
Fantastic, right?
Makes sense.
That's absolutely awesome.
Well, obviously, this is just an interim stage. So until they get it to a point where things do work, isn't it? So obviously, they've got to rely on Firefox to bring things up to speed and everything as well, isn't it? How does that work?
Yes and no. Like, it is dependent on the developers to make it so that they work on Wayland specifically. However, getting things to change like that is not very easy a lot of times, especially with something like Firefox. Because I mean, it's more easy with Firefox because they've already changed so much that changing the display server connection tools are not going to be that drastically different in the sense of like how much work they're already doing. But there are some applications that are X-based, that are only X-based, and will never be Wayland-based. And those will either just completely die or be rewritten or ported. So
you can't kill Synaptic, surely.
Well, Synaptic is made by Debian, so Debian's going to transition that one for sure.
Sure.
If you can kill Top Icons Plus, you can kill anything. Just saying.
I don't know what the conversation was before I came in about Mint, but I don't know, unless I really have an issue here. I play around with any other distros right now in a virtual machine. I've been kind of scoping and looking at getting a little bit more modern laptop for the distro hopping, playing around. They have it on actual hardware, but I'm still running, how many months now? I've been talking about Mint 18.2. Mate, and I'm perfectly happy with it. It runs very, very well. I mean, every once in a while you get still some, I don't know if I want to call them screen tearing issues. It's not mostly with gaming. It just seems like when you're resizing, and I thought I had it straightened out, but you know what? I could live with that. But even if you look at Windows, I was on the Windows side of this the other day because I hadn't been on it in months and had to tweak a couple things. And of course, Windows went through its 9,000 updates because I hadn't been on it a couple months. And when I purposely tried resizing the window, and I got these like scattered windows even in on the Windows side. So unless it's something with the GPU or something, I mean, this computer's going on 4 years old now. But truthfully, I have no reason to really change from this. This is my daily driver for my my online business and some of the gaming I do and whatever, and unless I break something radically, and I broke a couple things lately, and I've actually figured out how to fix it, which I'm getting a little bit more proud of myself, and maybe that's from hanging with you guys. I don't know, but that's how you learn. But honestly, I do have the curiosity to distro hop by installing on actual hardware, but I don't want to do it on this computer. And I have no complaints with Mint right now. Michael, you almost had me convinced. What, a month and a half or whatever it was ago that we were talking about, Ubuntu Mate, and kind of telling us the under the hood stuff. And I loaded it in the virtual machine. I know that's still not a fair trial of it, but I made this look just like it. And I still think that there's things about it that I'm not 100% sold on yet. I do like it, but this still offers me more of what I want. Maybe it is a Frankenstein distro, if you want to call it, because you said it's kind of a mixed bag of shells with everything that's in there. But I guess I look at it as it works for me right now. And I don't, I haven't had, the biggest problem I think we've said this before with people that run Linux, like us, especially now that we've, I've been doing it for a while, some time now, is we're our own worst enemies. We're the ones that tend to break it just as much as maybe, you say the developers when they do a patch, but they've been really good at fixing stuff if something gets messed up. But I think that I'm probably the biggest culprit here with breaking stuff half the time on here. And, it's funny when I get on the Windows side of this or even when I'm doing my books, if I fire up Windows, I don't feel comfortable in that environment anymore. I just don't. I mean, I really feel at home in Linux.
Isn't it fun breaking stuff, though?
It is to a point, unless you feel like, oh my God, I broke it so bad I can't be down long enough to have to reload everything again. So.
Well, but it's good because you learn about stuff and you break it. And look, I've spent like a week trying to fix certain things, but it's very rewarding once you do fix it, and it gives you the knowledge on how to fix it. And then when you see people who having the same issue, you can help them out. So I find that quite good.
Right. I guess the only thing for me I would say is if, being that I still use this for some of my online business stuff, you probably shouldn't be playing around with your main distro. The chance breaking it if you can't afford to be down any length of time. That's why I'm saying it's probably better to have an independent machine to play with. And I do have one that's I've set up before, my home entertainment system. I thought about just pulling that into another room and mess with it, but I don't know. I think it's just a curiosity more than anything else. When there's something new to try or whatever. I mean, I looked at the new Ubuntu and it actually does look nice. It looks a lot nicer than I expected. Is it enough to make me want to switch? No.
Have you tried, what about Ubuntu Mate? Being the Ubuntu Mate fan, so.
No, I did try that actually before I loaded this up a while back. And I was having issues with the menu at that time, and apparently there was a fix that had to be done or whatever, but by that time I'd already made the switch. I got this working, and that's why I'm running the Mate version of this, because I do like the Mate flavor. I really do.
I don't know what it is with Mate. I find it a bit dated. I feel as though it's a bit dated.
What?
Maybe that's just
you can make it look any way you want.
Yeah, but that's probably because
of something that was made 15 years ago and is intended to stay 15 years old. Why?
That's just the way I feel, but you can make it look good, but I don't know. I just feel as though there's other things that are better than that. But
well, I mean, by default, Ubuntu Mate looks good. I can't stand the default layout still being GNOME 2. The people who are like, there was a vote of should Ubuntu Mate replace the GNOME 2 or keep it. And their replacement idea was to use the Pantheon interface switcher that looks like sort of Mac-ish, but not really. And it was 52% keep it. That's
really?
it.
Yeah.
And they kept it. Like, you don't just outright let people win based on very bad decisions of 52%. Because if it's only that many, and you had a couple thousand people voting on it, there was maybe they won by I think
4 votes,
40 votes.
Yeah.
Those 40 people or whatever could just change it back on. You need to bring it to this decade. Well, actually, yeah, this decade. I'd say it's too say the century is a little too much, but we need to bring it to a little more modern time so it doesn't look like it's 10 years old when the second you install it.
I do a lot of changes to it, so it does. By the time I'm done, it looks entirely different.
Yeah. That probably holds true of anybody that's runs a distro. None of them are going to look like the original thing. But one thing that I do have, I think with any distro, still a little bit of a complaint that they haven't caught up yet, is because I run multiple monitors. If you want to share a screen, you have to pick the specific application. I can't just pick screen 1 or screen 2. If I wanted to show, let's say, my desktop, the only way of showing it is it grabs both screens as if it's one big panoramic. So that's a little quirk that bugs me. I mean, I don't have any problems running multiple monitors, but when you're in something like this and you want to show your desktop for some reason, that's the one thing that's a problem. You can't just show that one specific desktop if you're running multiples.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, isn't that true for Mate anyway?
But I think that seems
What
to
is
be any
somebody
distro.
doing?
And I've tried it on Peppermint. I've tried it. It doesn't seem that any distro. It seems like they all. Or did I miss something here?
No, it sounded like somebody was ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Oh.
Yeah, my bad. That was me typing.
Oh, wow. Old mechanical keyboard?
No, Microsoft one. Oh, did I say Microsoft?
Wait a minute. Zeb, what did you say?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
But mine really is the big old clunky bendy one.
Yeah, I've got a Logitech over here.
I've one of those somewhere, but like this is more important because this one is a Dell. Yeah.
Oh. Sorry to hear that.
Custom keyboard right there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have the keyboard for my laptop, so.
Yeah, you got the ergonomic Ergo 2000.
I'll tell you what, I never thought I would see Dave from Linux and other stuff move from the Mate desktop because that was his absolute favorite, but he has made a move to Budgie and he's quite liking it. So that was interesting.
That's
I never
good.
thought I'd move away from that.
Well,
That's
Budgie is a nice looking desktop. No question about it.
I think Mate's fantastic. It's not plasma, but it's still fantastic. But like there are certain issues like there are tiny little issues that pop up every once in a while, like not being able to choose the monitor or second monitor on the thing, not having the icons in the exact same size, things like that. Having pixel placement, like there's some issues.
But I think in any distro, in any desktop environment, you're going to have some issues. I don't think any one of them is perfect.
For all software, you're pretty much going to have issues.
Yes, because you can't check every single line of code.
Right.
Well, even renaming a bunch of files, grabbing them all and wanting to just rename them, it's more of a challenge in Linux than it is like you would in Windows. You type it and it automatically does it. You always got to go through a couple extra hoops in here, it seems like.
No, it depends. Like there's a bulk renaming built into Dolphin. There's a one built into Thunar.
Yep.
I think there might be one in Kaja. I'm not sure, but definitely Dolphin and Thunar have one. Thunar is actually more powerful for their bulk renaming. Everything else about their file manager is not more powerful, but that particular feature is.
Yeah, but this one seems to be a pain. So, like I said, it's not without its quirks, but it's not something I can't live with. So,
right.
Is it the Linux Mint one, Joe?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Is Simon still?
Should I get some more salt and open the wound a little deeper, and we'll go.
Dolphin is the best file manager out there. I'm sorry.
Dolphin.
Yep. Simon's still on stream or not? Is Simon gone? Is Simon there or not?
No, nope, he's gone.
He's gone. I wanted to ask him something, but that's all right.
He kind of like just disappeared.
I'll answer on behalf of Simon.
Well, I'm running the LXQT Lubuntu next, and I've updated it by PPA to the 0.12.
Okay.
And it does say on one of the websites I found that you can update some widgets and stuff, move it forward, but I cannot install, I think it's the Qt5C or something.
CT.
CT, is it? Yeah, it won't install. It's only for the 1604 and lower, I believe. Is that correct?
It could be because it's based on, like, for example, it might not be based on 5.9.1 or something like that. So, like, if it hasn't been ported up, it won't be usable.
Okay.
It's the same kind of thing when someone made, then when there's applications in Plasma that are KDE 4 or Qt 4 or Qt 5.7, and then you have 5.9, and those things aren't ported up, so they're not compatible. It could be the same situation that LXQt is experiencing.
Yeah.
But I haven't experienced that particular problem, but that could be the issue. And it could be just, a matter of time before they can update and port that up to the new version of Qt. Because Qt is very fast in their updates and like in their toolkit rollout. And it's terms of toolkit rollouts, like not like they're doing it every day or anything, but like that's for a toolkit.
Yeah.
So in the chat, John Sweda?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Sweda. Let's go with that. Ask, what about running the App Store from Google on Linux? Any particular good distro for that? It depends on if you mean the Play Store with Android apps or the Chrome Store. Any distro Chrome Store, but the Play Store there are some applications that what's that an Android, is that what it was? Something like that. There's some like compatibility layers things that people are working on to make Android apps work on Linux, but they're not really ready. And also Google's working on them too. So who knows? But right now there's not really a solid solution.
Hoppertitis.
Nice. I approve.
A contagious malady that spreads between Linux users, causing them to continually hop from one distro to another in search of operating system perfection or purely for geek gratification.
Or both, maybe.
So you've all got to jump on that website and vote it up.
Just did. It's pretty good. All right, so what else is in the news, dude?
Michael likes cinnamon. Oh,
that's not what he said. Don't be making up stuff.
Did you edit that out of the show?
Yes.
Thank you,
that was already not really a part of the show, but I made sure it's not in it.
So it's not recorded for prosperity.
I mean, technically, I have the recording of it, but that's not a part. And Scrap, you're wrong. Bad decision.
Good decision, Scrap. It's a good decision. Totally a good decision.
But so, like, okay, I wanted to go back to one thing, like the Linux Mint Flatpak things. I was making a joke about who cares. I don't care. Actually, but
we never did go into that.
Yeah, we never went into it. So I kind of wanted to point out in my show, I kind of pointed out something that annoys me with Mint's announcements, and really, this is the way they present anything to the community is this kind of thing. They never answer the actual question that anyone's really asking. They always step around it. Like they're like, it's like they're kind of like politicians.
Right.
Like if you ask them a question, they will kind of like, well, what you're really asking is this. And like, no. I asked you a specific question. Why won't you answer it? So for example, like in the Flatpak question is, no one's asking why Flatpak? Why would you want Flatpak? And then expecting them to say, well, this is why we picked Flatpak because Flatpak has these features and blah, blah. We're asking the question is, why did you pick Flatpak over snaps or app images? That's the question. They didn't answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
The question they answered is, what is Flatpak? So if you don't know, that might be useful. But when people ask the question, they're expecting you to say why you picked it over snaps, especially when you're based on Ubuntu. So he said that, like, I pointed out a couple things. I listed out some things like, you can run different versions side by side. You can have a mini environment, like, so that you can have containerized stuff, and you can have like different repos and blah 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 and like whatever. Like every example he gave was, yeah, that's also true with snaps. Why did you pick Flatpaks over snaps? Yeah.
So they're going to be integrated in the Software Center, so that I guess you'll be able in 18.3. So you'll be able to install. It does okay. So in theory, this means that you'll be able to install two different versions of a program. Correct?
You can do that anyway with Flatpak, period.
Yeah, I mean, but from the software center.
We don't know. They didn't answer that question either.
And Flatpaks does not have that many. Whenever I go to Flatpaks, it doesn't seem to be building up its package.
So this is why.
Well, I thought that, but I've just gone to the Flat Hub because, strange as it may seem, I'm running Fedora at the moment, and it's running incredibly well. Yeah, sorry, Michael, it's XFCE. But it is running really, really well. And I've just gone to the Flatpak hub because I was thinking, what is there? And there seems to be quite a few. I don't know if that's all there's ever been, but I'm scrolling down and there's page after page after page. So I think it's growing. When was the last time you went there, Colin?
Oh, would have been a couple of weeks ago.
So here's the issue. There are multiple repos for Flatpak. FlatHub is the one that people realize that the developers of FlatHub go, hey, you know how snaps have a centralized repo where everything can be get from and people know where they are? That's a good idea. We should do that. And they made FlatHub. But prior to that, people were losing their mind against Snap because it was a centralized repo. Now that FlatHub is out, people are like, good job, FlatHub. It's like you're kind of contradicting yourself. But anyway, Flatpaks have the GNOME. The GNOME apps are not in the FlatHub. They're in the GNOME apps repo. So if you go to the Flatpak website, that only shows you the GNOME apps repo. If you go to the FlatHub website, yeah, that's why it's confusing, because there's a Flatpak website and the FlatHub website, and they're completely separate. And up until like 2 weeks ago, the FlatHub website didn't even list what was there. It was just like, here's what the FlatHub is. But what's in the FlatHub? Like, we'll tell you later.
So normally I go to flatpak.org. That's where I normally go. So there must be another website for this FlatHub. I don't think I've been there. So
who curates Flatpaks? The actual store.
Well, there's no real store. There's a combination of repo store to make a store. So
right, so who takes care of those?
So
nobody.
The GNOME apps repo is controlled by GNOME, and it just has their stuff, really. The FlatHub repo is controlled by someone who's a part of. I think he actually is connected to the GNOME Foundation, but not really.
There really isn't anything on this on the FlatHub, because I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the apps. Doesn't seem like there's really anything on here that isn't in like the Ubuntu Software Center or something like that. So I don't see.
It's all in there. I mean, yeah.
I don't see there's any. Let's say for somebody like me, there's absolutely no advantage to that when I can get everything right out of the Software Center.
Okay, well, in terms of like that's more of when you say Software Center, are you talking about snaps or are you talking about Debs?
I'm talking about Debs.
Okay.
I mean, I know I'm comparing apples and oranges to some extent. I realize that.
So I can explain the difference between a snap and a Flatpak, and I also can do the difference between that and Debs and RPMs. Like they are vastly different. But this isn't a technical spec. If I don't want to be like the nerdy guy going for 20 minutes on a thing people don't care about.
Why not?
No, I guess
I don't mind going for 20 minutes. It's just I don't want people to glaze over.
Right. No, my point was I'm just looking at the list of, they probably have maybe 100 apps in 100 app, Flatpak thingies in the flathub.org.
Yeah.
And there isn't anything there that I haven't seen in the Ubuntu Software Center or the OpenSUSE one.
There are
a good question. It is a good question.
So why would I want to use any of these Flatpaks from this when I have them already? available to me. The same.
Like you have a look at Audacity. You've got Audacity there. Who can't get Audacity on just about any distro? The Conf editor, the GIMP. I mean, why are these all flat packs? Is there a reason why they are flat packs? What's the reason?
So, because
it's good reason.
The issue with whether you can get stuff or not, that's not really the problem. That's not really what they're intended to do. They're intended to essentially make it easier for developers to make packages. But some of the packages that already exist, you can just kind of combine them to a different thing. So it's like, I can already get Audacity. Yes, you can. In this case, the argument would be, I can get a newer version of Audacity without having to upgrade my core system, and without having to use a PPA, and without having to do et cetera, et cetera. So that's the goal of these particular types of formats, these universal formats. None of them are universal technically. And box, that's
right.
None of them are actually universal, but that's what their goal eventually to be is. App Images is the most universal right now, but it still isn't universal because there's so many ridiculous amounts of Linux distros that it's hard to make sure that they work on everything. But App Images is the ones that work the most on pretty much anything, almost anything.
They work good.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they also have some problems, and that's why snaps were made. So when I talked to Shuttleworth about that one particular topic, what does he think about App Images and why not use App Images? And his reason was because App Images are good, but they don't have security aspects taken into consideration, and they don't have containment taken into consideration. And they also don't have very good updating mechanisms. So, he's right, actually. All of that stuff is true. So so let's say you take something that's a flat pack or a snap or whatever, and you download it and you install it. Mm-hmm. When it gets updated, when let's say the program itself gets updated, will the flat pack or the snap version, when those updates are available, will they get updated or not? Am I making myself clear? Am I making sense? Yes, I think so. The snaps are going to be updated whenever there's an update.
Okay. And then whenever there's an update and you'll say you have that particular snap installed, then your computer's going to know, okay, and it gets updated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Flat packs are different because flat packs work in the same sense that the Ubuntu, the update manager of most distros work.
Mm-hmm.
So snaps do as well, but they do it in a much more powerful way. I think that flat packs are good. I think snaps are way better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think snaps will exceed expectation of flat packs way far. Like they'll do it faster and they'll do it way beyond better because they already are doing it faster and way beyond better than them.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you look at the amount of snaps there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah.
If you look at the amount of power and functionality they have, it's extensive. Like there is a lot of stuff. As a developer, it's fantastic. Like flat packs are like, yeah, that's cool. I like the idea of making it contained and making it easier to update and blah blah and then I look at snaps and it's like, that's awesome. Like that it has all the stuff that flat packs says they do and more. So it's basically the same thing that snaps provide the same benefits that flat packs, but they also provide more that flat packs don't, and that's why snaps are better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like as far as like deb files and snaps, I'll just explain quickly without trying to be super boring.
Okay, no, you're not boring me, so it's fine.
Okay.
Everybody else can snooze. That's okay.
I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just kidding.
So dev files, okay, as a developer, and a bunch of other stuff, but specifically the developer hat on, developer side of Linux is the worst. Developing software in Linux is absolute torture. And I use torture very loosely. But it's awful. And it's because a lot of people don't know why it's terrible. And they just get the applications and they use it, right? A user side, you would never notice this stuff. Developer side, it is awful because you have, let's say I want to release for Ubuntu. I need to release a package for Ubuntu 16.04, 14.04, 17.04 now, 17.10. That's 4 versions of one application for one distro. Now add all the other distros, all the other versions of those, and they still are not compatible. So if I make a deb file for those 4 for Ubuntu, they don't necessarily work in Debian, so I got to make another one for Debian. But I also have to make one for Debian Jessie and Debian Stretch. And then also maybe make one for Debian testing and Debian SID.
So they're now with 8 to do.
Right. And that's just 2 distro formats, like 2 distros with one format and multiple versions. And then, yes, some of them, like because a lot of distros are based on Ubuntu and Debian, those will work in all of those. That's fantastic. Now let's go to OpenSUSE. OpenSUSE has the RPM package, and that will work on Leap different than Tumbleweed because Leap has an older set of core, so you have to make packages for each one. Then you also have to make packages for 32-bit and 64-bit, so that's just doubles everything. Then you have to say, the RPM that you made for OpenSUSE doesn't work on Fedora, so you have to make another one for Fedora. And Fedora has like 3 versions available at any given time, typically. That are still being developed. So you still have to make them for those. Then you have another RPM for Mageia, and that's a completely different thing. And you have another one for OpenMandriva, and that's a completely different thing. Then you have another one for like Arch-based stuff. So you have tar.xz, and you have to build like e-builds for Gentoo. Then you have to do Slack builds for Slackware. All of these things just to cover the main distros. And you have like up to 20 to 30 packages you have to make if you want to provide packages. That's why a lot of distros and a lot of projects and a lot of things just don't do it.
Because it's like, a lot of work to maintain
here's our Torball, and good luck with it. It's because it's so much time, or like the distros will use them, right? So like the distros package it for. I've made a joke about GNOME all the time about GNOME doesn't make packages themselves, and this is the reason they don't. And I understand why they don't, because it's a ton of work for very little benefit, because it's just, your stuff is out of date.
Right.
That's about it. Your stuff is just out of date. People can update if they want to update. They update their whole system to
So then supposedly then like the Flatpak or the Snap should be able to handle all those multitude of distros and versions and all that.
It eliminates all of it. It eliminates that big problem. Like,
so I can create one Snap and it should be able to be used across the board in Linux.
Yes, regardless of distro, regardless of version of distro. Yes.
Okay.
That's why
that's cool.
That's what the universal format stuff is doing. Like that's
right.
When they announced, like I've been for years begging people to make these universal applications, and I've used app images for years, and it's like you make some good stuff, but there's some things that don't work here, and that's unfortunate. But also, a lot of people aren't packaging for app images and blah, blah. And what's unfortunate is that a lot of people don't know that app images existed until this new thing came out. But, like, for example, like one of the developers of Flatpak was asked, why did you make Flatpak instead of, like, looking at app images? He had never heard of app images. So, like, it's not really his fault. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, it's more like there's not a lot of distribution of information in terms of different things like this. So the distribution of packages has always been awful.
And so the snaps or the Flatpak are supposed to eliminate that hideousness.
Yes, like the users wouldn't experience this problem because it's just packages, or the only problem you'll see is that it's old.
Right.
Yep.
So then if let's say there's a snap that I want to download, I can download it into Ubuntu and install it. I can take that same copy and then download it into OpenSUSE, let's say Tumbleweed, and that should work.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
You can also like the developer side of it is also amazing too. So, Total OS today said something in the chat about the. You see that Kdenlive dropped Snap support. That's true. They also never had Flatpak support, and they only ever offered app images. And they added Snap support because there are people managing it on behalf of Kdenlive, and it wasn't really Kdenlive doing it. So this is more like those people didn't want to do it anymore, and they were like, "Okay, we're going to stop." So I understand why they stopped, but they've always been app image based anyway, so that's better. Like it's app images are good for now anyway. Like app images are fantastic. They're the best thing to use now, but they have problems. Specifically,
they don't update them. You know, there's no way to update them except to download a new one. Like if they get an update to it.
Right. You just replace the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's take this one step beyond. So I have this Snap, and I've installed it in OpenSUSE, and I've installed it in Ubuntu. I cannot take that and install it on my Mac, can I?
Not right now, no.
But supposedly, from what I've read, in theory, you should be able to at some point in the future.
That would require Mac
a lot of work
to support it. They would have to support it. It's unlikely they would, but it is possible that anything that supports the Snap format would be able to use a Snap. So even like, for example, if let's say the Librem 5 were to decide they wanted to support Snaps, they would work.
Okay.
So you could have a mobile version of Snaps and all kinds of stuff. So like Snaps were designed to be very flexible and very powerful. So they can be used on phones. They can be used on embedded devices like IoT. They could be done like massive level of server stuff. They could be like a complete replacement to Docker, like all kinds of stuff. They can do tons of things. And that's what makes them more appealing to most developers, is that with Flatpaks, their focus is only desktop, nothing else. Snaps are desktop and everything else.
They're supposed to be more universal.
Right. So you can do a lot more stuff with it. But here's what makes me really like Snaps. Because on the developer side again, there's this really awesome feature that Snaps offer. And that's auto building of Snaps where I don't touch anything. And what it happens is I create you can look at it. I have some stuff for Snaps, and I've worked with Snaps before. But there's this nice feature because Snaps are built through Snapcraft. In order to build a Snap, you create a file called a YAML file. I hate the name of YAML files because it just means yet another markup language, and I hate that. Yet another anything, I hate that. Because it's the laziest thing you could possibly think of. Yet another system tool. Yes, good job, Sousa. Anyway, there's things like that that make it really good because the YAML system is actually good. Like the name terrible, system's good because it's a key value system where you give it's just a basic text file written in a specific format, and you give it a name, colon, and then a value. And that just defines the variable, and that it contains the value for that variable. That is all you need to do to make a Snap file, to make a Snap for
some application,
any application. So, like there are different intricacy things that you need to learn, like what runtimes to connect to, what dependencies you need to do, how to install that, what kind of containment to offer, things like that. So there are different aspects to it that you'd have to learn specific ways, but it's just basically a text file.
Oh, okay.
So once you learn the syntax of the text file, it's very easy to make a text file and make it updates and all this other stuff. But what makes it awesome is that you can take that text file, that particular YAML file, and some other Snapcraft type stuff that are specific to build information, put it in your Git source code on GitHub, and say, Snapcraft, pay attention to my GitHub repo. And anytime you ever make an update in any code whatsoever, Snapcraft will see it, go, okay.
And automatically update it.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can make it where what's the best part about that is that it makes the developer not have to do anything, and the Snaps is always up to date. But that's not really good. Like literally every time you make a change, to make a Snap for everybody. So snaps also go farther than that and say there are 4 different branches of snaps. There's a stable snap, the beta snap, I forgot what it's called snap, and the and
the other one you forgot.
no, it's stable, beta, something, edge.
Oh, okay.
Let's just say no. It's literally called something. Let's just call it that. So, the edge feature makes it so that if you want to install edge, every time they update, someone changes in Git, edge gets it automatically.
Okay,
but
so that's the quote bleeding edge one.
Right. That's what it's named for. Yeah. So this one is I'm ready for more people to test it, and I'll set a flag to it so when it builds, make it this version. The next one is the same thing. He's like, this is a beta version. If someone wants to sign up for the beta, they can just do it. This is a stable version. All the features I've made this far will go to the stable version. So you can specify in your Git when to go to where.
Oh, okay.
And in order to use, and as a snap user, all you have to do is say snap install tac edge or tac beta to get those versions. And you can install the stable version as well at the same time and run them installed at the same time.
And then because there'll be 2 separate instances when you run
exactly. So you can use the stable one as your main thing, and when you want to play with new features, you can just install the beta version too.
That's cool. That I like.
Yeah. So there's so many things that are coming in snaps, and even Flatpaks has some of this. Like there is the beta thing, and they don't do the Git automatic stuff, but they could if they wanted to. I don't know. Maybe they will. But
I don't know if you answered it, but how do snaps install? Do they install to the same locations as any other program?
No, they have their own mount points, basically.
So is it possible to, like, when I bring a program, when I install a new system and I distro hop and I install a new system, I bring my folders over for config files and stuff to keep the settings that I had. Is that possible? With snaps, you just got to find a different path?
No, it's like the settings, the users, like when you asked how they're installed, I kind of took the overall aspect saying that they're not the same because there's certain parts that are completely different, but there are themes that are same. Like where you store settings in the home folder are also still in the home folder, but they're stored in like .snap folder instead of .config, blah, 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 blah.
So you just have to find the right folder.
And then the snaps themselves are, if I'm not mistaken, I was kind of screwing around looking at it one day. They are actually in /snap.
Yeah.
That's where they are. And then, of course, each one's going to have its own directory structure and everything within that.
Yeah. You just copy
just
all
like user bin, user bin has all its stuff.
Right. So you can store everything. Yeah, like everything, all your settings are stored in your home folder anyway. So along with your .config, you would just take the snap stuff too. Right. And when you pull it back in, it would pull back in the same stuff.
Right.
So it doesn't lose any of the benefits of using Debs. It adds a ton of stuff on top of it that brings everything back like to a more modern style.
Right, and they're just not stored in. They're not put in user bin. They're put in snap.
Right.
Yeah.
And but it's more. It's a little more than that. But like that's where the location is. Right. How they work and how they're like ran is different.
Oh no, that I know. But if you're just thinking of where they actually are stored in the file system.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tangi wants to know what the current status or the extent of sandboxing is with snaps.
Automatic. You use a snap, it's automatically sandboxed.
And I've heard them talk about like App Armor and all that. What is App Armor? Like, what does it have to do with snaps? And
App Armor is a kernel module for basically containment of different applications. So you can contain something inside of App Armor, and it creates this self-contained. Everything in it is separated to everything else out of it. By default, it's very restrictive. Like when you use it as like, it's not really usable as a user, but it's if you use it, implement it in your software, you're required that if you have in order to use it, your AppArmor has to be installed in the kernel for that distro. The next thing is you have to specify like how you want to contain things. So it's great in the sense of what it does, but it's something that most people will never touch. So when you put that into snaps, it takes all the containment stuff and then makes it more accessible. So all snaps containment is controlled by AppArmor, and therefore, like when you have a confined snap, your settings are stored separately, but the code itself of the snap is contained in this thing. So when it runs, it's run through AppArmor, and AppArmor doesn't let it see other parts of the system. Now, but the reason why it's using AppArmor and not just a full container system is because AppArmor has exception structures. So, like, for example, if you were to contain everything inside of something, that something wouldn't see your display server and couldn't run anything. So it needs to be able to have, so X is an exception, and then Wailing would be an exception too. So AppArmor allows you to create a containment with exceptions that are built directly into the kernel. So it's actually pretty awesome, but you know, it's not used by every distro, and that's what kind of creates the problem in terms of like snap availability, as far, well, not availability, compatibility.
So it has to be on the distribution to make that happen.
The distribution has to be willing to allow the kernel to use the AppArmor module. Yeah. And that's not always something that they want to. There's not.
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want it though? Like, why isn't it accepted? I mean, there's got to be a reason why they would say no. We're not. It adds
complexity and extra effort for them, I guess, because they might not. Maybe they're doing something where they package everything themselves. You know, they package everything. They typically don't have to worry about what supports what, because they already know what it is, and they can have like automated tools and stuff. And I saw that, Toss. But yeah. So snaps are good.
Okay, everybody can wake up again.
Yeah, exactly. You're welcome.
So what about,
thank you.
You're welcome for your snap.
What about integration across the system?
Snap.
These snaps will integrate across the system, even if one snap needs to talk to another. Isn't that?
Yes and no.
Yeah. So that depends on the AppArmor whether it lets them do that as well. Would that be the case as well with that, or?
Yes, the AppArmor is involved. There are other aspects of Snappy itself that it's involved in that too.
Right.
So, would running something like Chrome as a snap be constructive? Yes, it would. Absolutely, because by default it's being Chromium's already in the Snap store. So, with the Snap system, your question relates to like if a snap can like talk to another snap, maybe? Is that kind of what
you do need that on some occasions. I can't think of an example, but I do know that that needs to happen on some occasions, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some aspects where, like, especially for settings, like you need it so that let's say you have some settings that are shared by multiple snaps. That they can share the same home user settings.
Right.
But as far as getting from one contained thing to another, there is a snap kind of dependency platform thing where you create one big snap that controls like a core of something, and then have other snaps that pull to that core and use that as a dependency. Instead of having every single thing they need a dependency for as a snap, like how Debs work, you just have one big core snap, and then you have everything pull from it. So, for example, GNOME 326 has a core app. So there's a core snap for GNOME 326. So anything that's like a GNOME, like GNOME Maps or Totem or whatever, or Epiphany, can just pull from that core snap and then create snaps based on that. Right. So that you don't need to contain GNOME 326 in all of those applications. You just have that one main like runtime, but not really.
Because say, for example, you installed LibreOffice Writer and then Calc and then Impress as 3 different apps. On some occasions, I think within LibreOffice, they need to talk to each other if your workflow is justified to use it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So then would they be able to integrate with each other? They'd probably talk to a particular file or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as syncing files and stuff like that, yes.
Yeah.
As far as like a bridge system, maybe not. Like in theory, yes, it's possible, but I don't know if it's implemented yet. Like that.
I can see the future of. Sorry, yeah, go on.
I'm sorry, I was just saying a bridge system is like storing cache in the RAM and then pulling it from like that might not be implemented.
Yep, because I can see the future of these Snap apps. Probably people will start maybe making ISOs a lot smaller and make a base system, and people just install Snaps as they want, which means your ISO will be a lot smaller. They just need the basics of an operating system, and then you can just install what snaps you need. Because the snaps are also quite large in size, aren't they? I've noticed when you install them. Obviously,
not at all.
No, I thought they were quite big.
They used to be. Like this is like a thing because in the very beginning, when people were first making snaps, the core snap concept wasn't existing yet. So
okay.
So like now it does exist. So you have this core snap with like GNOME 326, and you can have core snap that provides like a lot of dependencies to other snaps. Whereas a snap, a deb file has to pull in all these other files in a correct order in order to make them install correctly. Whereas a snap is, here's my code, like it could be a lot, it could be a little. I need dependencies from this stack, and then it pulls those dependencies directly from that snap. And that way, the one on top can be super small. So, for example, the KDE team basically proved that snaps have very high viability. Whether they'd been to or not, I don't know. But they were working on the calculator app. The first calculator app that they made for like KCalc was like 100 megs. And that's because it had to include the KDE stack and everything. And then they kept working on it. And once they started doing the KDE stack, the dog starts barking. Once they start doing the KDE stack, they had they could not rely on including everything in KCalc. So KCalc snap itself became 300 kilobytes. So the astronomical difference is like crazy.
Well, Rose had a question back here, and I got to find it. Yeah, no, I can't find it. Continue on until I find it.
Okay.
Okay, so can't they sandbox app images for security reasons?
Yes and no. App images have a thing where if they were to implement a sandboxing system, they would have to use something like AppArmor or something like that, or build into another tool. There are other tools inside of in the kernel that you could use, but they're a little more complicated because it's not just one specific thing. So, for example, FireGel is like a sandboxing tool, essentially. And it creates like jails, but not really. But it uses a bunch of stuff built into the kernel in order to accomplish a sandboxing thing. So if you wanted to sandbox an app image, you could run that app image through FireGel, and the FireGel will apply a sandbox to it. So it is technically possible to sandbox an app image, but by default, it doesn't really work in the same situation that containment would allow. Because app images are very integrated into the system. So when you FireGel them, it pulls them out of that integration a little bit. Not enough to bother, but enough to notice. So,
Well,
know,
I had said before, and I mentioned it like a while back, and I'm going to ask the same question. In the future, do you think there will be a distribution that is solely based on snaps?
Yes.
Because it seems to me that's where it's heading.
Do you mean desktop distribution?
Yeah.
Okay. Eventually, maybe sometime. I think it's possible that in like 10 years, snaps will be so dominant that it could happen. I don't think Ubuntu will be that distro. It definitely won't be the first distro to do it. I can guarantee that. But it might eventually do it. But as far as like being the first, it would be some kind of like boutique distro that does it. Because it's possible, like functionality wise, yes. But I think that Ubuntu would argue that the devs are so important that they would have no intention to get rid of them.
Right.
But they're important for the core. They're fantastic core implementation. They're not so good when it comes to application distribution. So they would approach it as in use the things that do something use the things that do it well for what they're well for. So like if you like a deb's great for core, great for the kernel deployment, all kinds of stuff like that. But you don't need a single application reliant on all of the core as well. You know, you don't need Firefox to be dependent on devs. It doesn't need devs. It can use them, but it doesn't need them. So if you have snaps to provide Firefox, it makes it easier to get new updates without having to worry that it might break your system if you get to something that's like vastly different. But like, and that's like a very high level application, like on the top level to write directly to the user. But there could also be stuff underneath that, like the DE, that could also be snapped and be rolled without having to worry about breakage. Like there's a ton of things that are user space, but not necessarily core. And devs are fantastic for core because that doesn't need to change. But applications do need to change. And not being able to do that is incredibly irritating. I mean, I would assume everybody here fell into a situation where you found an application you wanted to use, but you couldn't use it because it wasn't available for your particular distro or even your particular version of your distro. Mm-hmm. So like that itself is just awful. So it's definitely an issue where I think that it's possible that some boutique thing will be snaps only. I think it'll be far from now. But it'll probably happen.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. It was all my fault.
It was totally your fault.
Yeah, blame me.
It was totally your fault.
I've got broad shoulders.
I did say it was going to be 30 minutes, okay?
Yes, you did. You said 20 to 30, so yeah. No, but I actually appreciated how you explained things. It makes a lot more sense now.
I think a few people in chat actually appreciate it too. I think a couple of people have said they're learning a couple of things there. Mm-hmm. So it's
okay.
Even I'm learning stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah.
This snap thing could change the whole dynamics of Linux Linux desktop, to be honest, in the future.
Well, I think it makes application development a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you look at my video about where I explain Snappy on my channel, in the video, I specifically say I'm not getting provided opinion. I just want to explain Snappy. But every other video I've ever talked about Snappy, it's like, I'm super excited for this. Like as a developer, it's something I've been wanting for a decade. And while app images have been around for basically a decade, they never really fully were fleshed out to like what I need. Like, because the lack of update mechanism basically makes app images broken. You know, if you have to I know people who use app images who would implement their own. They would implement their own update mechanism that just notified you that there's an update. And all I did is say, "Hey, you want to go download the new version?" And then it takes you to a website to download it. Now that's not necessarily hard, and it's not something that a Windows user would probably go like, "That's perfect. That's what I want."
And that's what the Mac does with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
When you get an update, you've got to download the whole new package.
Right. But with Linux, people are so used to the update system that if that wasn't available, they would lose their minds. And I mean like the community, the volatile part of the community would lose their minds. I think people who are like regular would typically go like, yeah, whatever. If it gives me my application, who cares? It's not a big deal. Like I'm even in that situation where it's not a big deal. I use app images all the time. It's just, there's certain sections where like when they first announced snaps and people were like, well, you can't even get updates for snaps. They suck. Like, what? It's been like 2 weeks. Give it some time. But
I only use one app image, and that's Etcher. That's a really good program. That one.
Yeah. Etcher's fantastic. Also, OpenShot uses an app image. Kdenlive uses app images. Lots of things use app images because they simplify the running of stuff, and it's just nicer. Like you can download one file and just use that file. It also is kind of complicated because it does separate the settings inside of your home system, your home folder, which is both good and bad because it's no longer just one file to keep track of. But it's also good because it means that everything is stored in the same location where you expect it to be. So like the decision they made was good and I like it, but it's also problematic to the thing that they're talking about, having one file to run everywhere. Is like kind of not really, but I guess. Sort of. But anyway, yeah. So application distribution is incredibly exciting, and everybody.
It's finally coming into the 21st century.
It's the greatest.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Everyone loves it.
I'm going to give this Lightworks a go. I'm thinking about giving that a go. That looks quite interesting. But like you said, Michael, it's a little bit of a brain muscle memory challenge. But
I said it was chaotic.
But what about Yak Yak? Does anyone use Yak Yak? It's meant to be a open source Google Hangouts desktop app.
I installed it the other day, and it actually works pretty good.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's an Electron wrapper for Hangouts.
So it's another Electron program.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with an Electron app.
Neither do I.
I don't either. I sometimes make them. Whatever.
Yeah, but there's some people who just you say Electron and it's like you know.
I actually have built like 7, so whatever.
Well, I have a folder that I keep, and I've just named it app images. Not everything in there is an app image, but it's like almost everything I consider a portable program I put in there. So Blender I got in there. I got Etcher, Franz, Hiri, and I don't know why I have a Telegram in there. I don't know if I got that from where I got that from, but Yak Yak is in there as well.
Yeah.
So, have you tried it, Rocco?
Yes. It basically connects to your account, and it just looks like a native app for your Google Hangouts. And I actually used it to talk to one of the guys and have a conversation with him, and it worked great. But if I remember correctly, it gives you a few more features than just some of the web apps. Let me see if I can open it.
Yeah, it gives
some plenty of Yak Yak, is it?
What'd you say, Mike? Yeah, I can't open it because if I open it, it messes up the stream. So
okay.
The benefit of Electron is I'm not going to go into the developer part of it again because that would be another hour. But Electron is both good and bad. it's incredibly horrible for things that are meant to be native. A file manager, for example, a terminal emulator, for example. That is incredibly awful to make as an Electron app, and excessive and wasteful. That's 100 megs
Of nothing.
Or a terminal emulator. We already have like 50 terminal emulators. We don't need another one in an Electron. By the way, we have 5 Electron ones. So those, no. But Electron apps that are just basically taking a web app and then wrapping it into a desktop app and then doing desktop integrations and stuff like that, which is what Electron was built for, is awesome. And I love the fact that I can like take an application, a web app, and like, for example, TweetDeck. I can turn TweetDeck into a desktop app, which I did, and have integration with my notifications. When anytime a new tweet comes out, I get a little notification on my second monitor that says, "Hey, here's a new tweet from someone you're paying attention to." I'm like, cool, thanks. And like that's a fantastic thing for Electron to be. So like I would say Electron is both awesome and potentially awful.
Well, I know there's some people who complain about, oh, it uses up so much in the way of resources and stuff. It's going to use. I mean, I've run Electron apps on machine with 8 gig. No problem. I run it with on a machine with 16 gig. No problem.
Yeah,
so, or even 4 gig, and it still works fine.
Well, it's not about. It's about the amount that it uses. What it could be for other things.
Yeah.
Like, Electron apps are heavy, and that's kind of by default because they're essentially a web browser, like a very complicated, excessive integrated web browser, which is both good and bad. And also it's based on Chromium, so it's also because Chromium's huge.
That's where a lot of the space goes.
Yeah. So if it was based on something else, it'd be fantastic, but it's not. So
yeah.
So Rose was asking a question on here about Google notifications, which I've noticed is not. Anyone have any reason why Google notifications are not coming through? Especially when you click on the little bell and it's supposed to remind you, it seems to be not working. And she's not the only one who's mentioned it. A few people have mentioned it.
You're talking YouTube notifications, right?
Yeah, that would be troubling some YouTubers, I reckon, because some people are not getting notified on time, especially prior to the video starting.
Could it be YouTube is unreliable?
No way.
I heard YouTube is the best.
Oh, well, all these double ads they're playing at the start of videos now, which is quite annoying.
No. They're not double ads. There's this.
All right, they're 2 ads put into one, so they're making double money anyway. Regardless.
Well, there's these people who are making ads that are terrible, where they make an ad that seems like it's over, but it's like, hey, guess what? There's still a little bit left, and we're gonna make it completely different so it looks like another thing. And it's like, no, you just don't get ads. You think that an ad on a website is the same as that on YouTube. It's like, no, don't do that. But the bell thing, I don't even know what that's for, because I don't hit the bell most of anything. Like I don't subscribe. I'll subscribe to people and I don't hit the bell. I think I hit the bell like one time ever, and it was probably
that was my channel, right? That was totally my channel.
It was on BigDaddyDigital.com, and
no, I was gonna say it's for his own channel. He probably puts the bell up so he knows it's big.
Yeah, I don't even think I've ever done it. But I still get notifications of live streams, and I still get notifications of email of uploads and stuff. So it's like, what does the bell do? Like, honestly,
it notifies you when people put videos up, and it's supposed to be
subscribe.
like,
yeah,
well, yeah, but they changed
subscribe
it.
Send you an email.
I know. I'm saying
it.
like
they changed it.
It's not changed for me. I still get notifications from subscribing and not from the bell.
Like, so they only changed it for half of the people.
It's turned on by default. If you go in there and turn that off, you won't get them unless you click the bell for each individual one. Otherwise, you could get one for everybody subscribed to. If you subscribe to 500 people, you're going to get 500.
Could be that. I might have it just on by default.
I must have missed the memo on that one, did I?
Me too.
I don't know. I think maybe by default it wasn't on by default, and then maybe it became by default, and the stuff you already had that you were subscribed to weren't claimed by default. YouTube does.
Well, I think when you first install Chrome too, unless I'm mistaken, but I know there's something I remember popping up saying it wants to know if you want to receive notifications on your desktop too and stuff. And I always say no to that because otherwise it drives you crazy. You see this list you popping up.
That happens on every website now. Every website you go to, it's asking you if you want a notification. I don't want a notification for every website. I'm just browsing.
No, because you're forgetting something. They don't always ask for notifications, but the ones that don't ask for your location.
I've noticed that more and more.
For some reason, they need to know where you are in order to read an article.
I think everybody
knows. No, you don't. I always say no.
I think if you're paying taxes, everybody knows where you are.
Pretty much.
They know, maybe. But I don't think I've gone to various places where places that going to pay a bill for my trash, asking me to tell me where their location is. You know where it is. You come and pick it up every day.
Oh.
Yes, but they gotta know, but they have such outdated technology probably that they can't correlate the information. They got it in their computer system, but they need it in their advertising. They just can't seem to get the two to work.
So they can direct their advertising.
Yeah, one is written in their journal, and the other one is the data from their website.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a hit or miss thing with that bell. It seems. I don't know.
It is hit and miss. It must be in beta.
Yes, but everything to me is hit and miss in YouTube. It's nothing is standard across the board for everybody. They roll out changes to some users. They have changes halfway changes, like the dark theme. You can enable the dark theme. Great. Except for in the Creator Studio. And then you can't enable the dark theme, even though the dark theme's on in regular YouTube. Everything is like that with them. I don't understand. You would think that maybe you want to roll out some beta changes to people who want to opt in for that or something, but when you make a change, it should be across the board, don't you think?
In an ideal situation. Hey, we're gonna demonetize your ad because you're doing an ad on a particular video that is, again, the topic is a little, we don't want you to do that. And then news networks do the same thing and actually show photos and stuff. And since you're the news, you get to keep that.
Yep.
Maybe you should apply your rules everywhere. They've started to do that. Y'all know who Casey Neistat is?
No,
I've heard of him.
He's a vlogger. That's actually kind of not really. He's a vlogger who turned vlogging into art. So he is a cinematographer. So he took that and then vlogging and then combined them. So it's incredibly overproduced vlogging. With drone footage and time lapses and all kinds of stuff. And it's really nice. But he did a video once, a couple weeks ago, about the Vegas thing, the tragedy in Vegas. So and his video is just talking about it and saying that he wants to do a crowdfunding to send money to them. And also all the money on the ads for this particular video will go to them. And at no point does he talk about the actual thing and show anything, do any videos or anything. He doesn't talk about what happened or who did it or anything, just a general overview of it. And YouTube demonetized him, that particular video. So the video that he wanted to take the money and give to them, they killed it
away
for the demonetization stuff. So he posted on Twitter, somehow, because I wanted to take all the money that I was getting for this video, which is millions of views, so he got it quite a few $1,000s from that video, or would have. So I wanted to give all this money away, and you're saying I can't because of your policies. Or he actually just said, you can't, so I don't get it. Could you explain it, YouTube? And they responded back, well, it's against our policies to make money off this type of topic. And people started responding with like, yeah, but what about Jimmy Kimmel, who's doing exactly the same thing and making money on it? He's just talking about it on his show, putting that clip on the YouTube, and not even like saying the money's going to them or anything. It's just, we're getting ads for this. And they got they were just completely ignored, and all of their videos were still monetized, still getting ads. So it's like, why are you picking this guy to not get ads, but you're letting this guy have ads? And I didn't even know this until this came out. That particular, there's a reason. The ads that most people display on their videos are sold by Google to various companies. The ads displayed on Jimmy Kimmel's are sold by Jimmy Kimmel's company, not Google. So they get this weird pass. And companies like that get a weird pass where if they are selling the ads themselves, they don't have to worry about certain policies.
So he doesn't use Google's ads at all.
Mm-mm. Google facilitates them, but does not sell them. So they take a certain percentage of the ad revenue, but they don't take as much because they don't do as much. So there was this big kind of kerfuffle where people found out that's what's happening with the Kimmel stuff and went to YouTube and said, hey, maybe stop being jerks and change that policy. If you're going to punish us, you should punish them or not punish us. And YouTube agreed and said, okay, we'll punish them. Basically.
So what's happened? I heard something about Sudo. What's happened with Sudo? Sudo got banned or something? Someone was saying.
He got
community strike or something.
He got a community strike during his live show, so he is banned from doing a live stream for a week or something like that.
His channel, there's nothing wrong with his channel. I mean, I'm always on his channel, and there's nothing.
So a community strike is probably a reporting system. I think the community strike is not algorithm based. I think it's people reporting it.
I mean, what could he have said that would cause people to do that?
Yeah, there's all kinds out there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure exactly, but I know that. Do what?
Zeb's muted.
Yeah, he's muted.
He's talking.
No, I don't think he's muted.
He's like a hardware. I think he's got a hardware
muted. His mic was working a minute ago.
No, you're still muted, mate.
It was working. I heard him talking before.
Check the lower left corner settings.
Okay, is it there now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I was on Sudo stream last night, and there was nothing controversial, nothing that could be said that wasn't Linux based. We were talking about Fedora and why people don't like to run it as a distribution because you're providing automatic support for Red Hat, which basically is a crock because you're providing automatic support for any distribution that you use if you submit bugs. So it was just a general chit chat about nothing. And then wallop, he gets done with this community strike. The only thing that I can think of that was maybe slightly untoward, but was on an earlier stream in the day when he was, there was some weird conversation that got onto transsexuals for some reason. So maybe somebody took umbrage to that, didn't report him, but chose to report him last night instead. The problem is with Google, they never tell you 100% why you got done. They just say, oh, it's against our community guidelines. Well, you go and read the community guidelines, and it's just absolutely nothing that he did last night.
Right,
and I know what you're talking about too, Zeb. And it could be that, but why don't they give you a chance to actually moderate that if that's the case, instead of just taking you off straight away? Surely you should get a warning or some kind of thing. It's ridiculous.
No, he got an instant ban while he was live streaming, but then the live stream came back up again. So where's the ban?
Well, Tom from Switch to Linux did a little rant video. Not that he ever does any, but no, he did one recently about being demonetized, and he kind of did a little bit of a test video about cats, just about cats. Nothing even remotely, derogatory or not, G-rated or anything. It was just a generic, I like cats kind of a thing, just to see what they do, and they demonetized it. He says, and what his belief is that when you start getting to a certain level for monetization, for views and money to be paid out, they find some reason to take it away. Just so
that's
they don't
complicated. That's more complicated than just that particular thing.
Right. I mean, that's just a summarization of it. I mean, you'd have to watch his video. He went in a little more in depth in it. But
if his reasoning for that video being demonetized is that video, then he's wrong, and it's just wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, you'd have to watch it, to see. I may not be explaining it exactly.
It doesn't matter.
The long and short of it is he just he tested the system by putting out this very G-rated, simple,
not a test,
nothing controversial about it, and they demonetized it almost instantly.
Because that's not a test, and it has nothing to do with the video, the content itself, at all.
Okay,
that's the problem. Because a lot of people are like conflating things that happened with something else, as if that, like, the demonetization system is broken, but it's broken in a way that a lot of people aren't noticing. Because, like, for example, if you have something demonetized and then you upload a video, it is likely going to be demonetized by default because of your previous demonetization.
Okay.
Not because of the content in itself. Now, there is parts where the content itself could also do it too, or the keywords or the metadata or something. It's just...
his theory was just a level of views. You get up so many views, and then I don't know.
Yeah, his
I'm
like
not a YouTuber, so.
In the sense the video doesn't have anything to do with it, really. It's more of like you've already the algorithm has already hit you, and it's just going to continue to hit you until you get it fixed, or until YouTube fixes it. So that it is a problem. I agree, and especially if your videos don't get a lot of views very quickly. It's kind of impossible to get past it. Like it's crushing like new YouTubers or small YouTubers. It's like just crushing them.
Well, that was another thing he had mentioned is you have to have like 1,000 views or something to be able to get back.
1,000 views in one day or something, is it?
One week. You have to get 1,000 views in a week.
No, it's a day, isn't it?
No, it's a week.
It's a week.
7 days.
It is.
It's. I've been demonetized and then said a week. So. But it's not, you have to get 1,000 views on this video in a week. You have to get 1,000 views in a given period of a week. So if you get 1,000 views 3 months later, you have a total of 1,000 views, but it took 3 months, it don't count. It has to be within 1 week. So it's very difficult to do that. And I had like 700 with like 2 or 3 days left. And I basically commented and said, hey, if people want to share this, please share this so I can get more views on it and so I can like tell YouTube to stop demonetizing me. And then I think now it's sitting at like 1,100. And I got that within like, I think probably a day before I needed to. And since they looked at it and said, yeah, you're right, it's not, there's no reason to demonetize it. They don't actually tell you this stuff. They just turn it off. So they turned the demonetization off and gave me the monetization back on it. And since then, they haven't demonetized me at all. But during that period of a week, I had already uploaded another video, and it got demonetized automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I would say that the reason is because your previous demonetizations will actually hurt you. But because I only had one demonetization, once that was pulled out, the other one was pulled out too. So it's a super annoying thing, and you have to be okay with, and in order to get views like that, the way I did, you have to be okay with bothering people. So
why don't they just leave things the way they were and just do it to the people moving forward that are coming onto YouTube? Why do they have to
They are kind of
create issues Well, not really. I don't think so. There's so many people complaining about this across the board. It's just it's hurting people that are relying on it, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Holzman he just got demonetized, or actually, I shouldn't say demonetized. He got shut down for a week, to where he can only do the limited, what is it, so many minutes or whatever, and he was angry, and he got to the point where I guess he got legal counsel, or whatever, and very quickly, between that and the support of other people, he was back up. Basically, what the long and short of it was with him was somebody made a bogus claim and targeted him purposely because, for whatever reason, he can come across sometimes a little narcissistic because he's good at what he does, but some of his presentation could be a little bit better. So he might tick somebody off or whatever is the way I might have taken it. But no matter what, it came down to somebody just made a bogus claim against him, and he got shut down for a week, and he lost a week's worth of money.
Yeah, so that's a different situation because that affected him like a year before this started anyway. Like the adpocalypse is only this year, and that affected him like a year ago or 2 years ago. So like that's a different issue altogether. But
no, you're thinking that's something different. No, I know what you're talking about. He brought that up a long time ago from past history. That's not the case. This one just came out the other day. It was for a recent video. This is different than what you're speaking of. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, then.
It just happened again to him.
Well, the community strike is also a different thing it's a different situation anyway. If he got targeted, it's still the same community strike issue, and it's not the apocalypse at all.
Right.
Because the adpocalypse is automatic algorithm.
I think that the point was, though, Michael, it's not whether it was that or whatever the circumstances were. Is YouTube has been like, let's flip the switch in an instant. Doesn't give anybody, like you said, the explanation. Don't give any warning. Doesn't say, hey, we've had a complaint or whatever. Can you explain yourself? There's nothing. It's just all of a sudden you get switched off. And so it doesn't matter what circumstance. It's the same principle.
I agree, but it's hard to say because I'm not going to vilify YouTube because they already have a ton of stuff. And while they do make mistakes, they also try to fix them in certain cases. It's just YouTube is the biggest platform. They have 500 million video minutes of video uploaded every second or something.
Yeah,
it's an insane amount of stuff that they can't manage. Like no one can manage. If you had every single person on the planet working for YouTube, it's impossible to manage that. So I understand that they have issues and they make mistakes, so I'm not going to vilify that because of that. So that's why I've never made a video about me being demonetized. The only time I ever mentioned it to people was what I told them in Telegram and I told them in the comment section. That's it. And I'm not going to make this huge thing about how the YouTube's out to get me because they're not. It's just the thing's not fixed yet. It's not, the algorithm is not ready. It's not finished. They just released a new thing a couple days ago where it's actually affecting 30% less than the people it was before. So it is being improved. So overall, it's not that hard. It's not that big of a deal. But the issue is a community strike and a copyright strike are very different. And also a monetization strike are very different. Well, it's not even a strike really, but you can have everything you have demonetized and nothing will happen to you. Nothing strike will happen. There are some theories about the visibility of your content being pulled down a little bit, but not like you're not being punished. You're being not promoted. So a copyright strike, if you get 3, you're kicked out for YouTube forever, essentially. Community guideline strike is kind of the same thing, but the guideline strike requires someone to report to someone on YouTube, and then it takes YouTube to look at what they reported on and say, yeah, that breaks our rules. So if you do something to get a copyright strike, you have to, 1, have broken the rule at some point, and someone has to send the message to YouTube, and then YouTube has to take the time to actually look at it. So the theory of what Zeb said, that a previous video and not the current video, is probably that. Whatever the previous video was, is probably what happened. And someone just created a report against him for whatever reason.
The difficulty with that, though, is 99.99 times out of 100,
sudo deletes his live streams afterwards because there's nothing of real interesting content. And that one, so unless YouTube can go back and look at a deleted video, which I'm assuming they will be able to, it wouldn't still be up there. Gaining views. He always just deletes them afterwards. That's why if he inadvertently plays some music in the background or shows a snippet of a game, he's not worried about copyright rules because it's never going to be up for long, only while he's in the process of streaming.
Well, my streams are not visible like for everyone anyway as well, but it's automatically unlisted. It's still there. So you'd have to go in manually and delete them.
Which is what he does.
Okay, so if he goes in and manually deletes them, it is still possible that YouTube has access. Mm-hmm. They might have like a cache or something, especially if someone reported it. If someone reported it on the stream, I think they might have cached it because of the report. Mm-hmm. So someone can't go in and delete it after a report's already been made. I don't know for a fact because, YouTube's not telling us that stuff, but I would not be surprised if they did that. If they had that as a function, because if people just reported stuff and then there was no proof to report it, then, proof of the report, maybe they couldn't do anything about it. So they probably would do that.
But they definitely keep stuff, Google, because I found out the other day that you can actually go back and ask for a deleted email up to a year in the past.
Yeah. Of course.
But I've deleted it. It should be gone. But no, they keep it in the background,
mm-hmm.
which is handy in the instance I just needed it for. But yeah, so they definitely keep stuff.
Isn't it great?
So I'm glad they did it, but by the same token, I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, I deleted it. It should be gone. So it's a double-edged sword.
When somebody's on someone's stream and they press report and they send it, surely they are telling them why they're reporting it, who they're reporting. So they must know who the individual is. So why can't they send something to that person and say, because of racism, you've been reported or something? Surely there's a...
Because of 500 million minutes of video a day or something. Too many.
Unfortunate, yeah. There are people who work for YouTube whose sole job is just to review content in this particular strike system, and they still have no time to actually tell people. If there was a checkbox that says this is why you were flagged, people would go, why was I flagged for that? I didn't say anything that's remotely like that. And then it creates more, saying less is awful in the sense of knowing what's going on, but in some ways it also benefits them to not have as much people throwing stuff at them.
So according to YouTube statistics,
here's an example. Another example. If you notice that in certain, we'll bring it back to Linux in this one. So Mark Shuttleworth will say things, they can be innocuous, and people lose their minds. When he doesn't say anything, people make up stuff to get mad at, but they don't have anything to point at. They just say intangential stuff. So in his kind of situation, if he says something, there is references to get mad at, probably, because these people find all kinds of stuff. But if he doesn't say anything, it makes it really hard for them to attack him for something. So, if you look at all the things he said about, Unity over the years, he rarely spoke publicly about Unity because it didn't matter. And he rarely spoke about Mirror. He did one Q&A once a year, basically. And the people who were asking questions were employees of Canonical curating the questions. And most of the time they would get questions that were, not necessarily fluff pieces or anything. Sometimes they would get fluff pieces questions like, wouldn't you really like to go back to space? Yeah, duh, everybody. What are you talking about? So things like that is kind of whatever. But there are certain times where it's just better not to say anything. Jim Zemlin did the best decision he could have done. When people started going crazy and yelling at him for using Mac software and stuff, and using a MacBook, and how could you use MacBook to make Linux presentations? There was no evidence that he even did it. And whether he came out and said he didn't, he would be called a liar and all this other stuff. But by keeping his mouth shut,
it died.
It just completely died away.
Mm-hmm.
So in some cases, just keeping your mouth shut is good. I obviously don't know how to do that, but
obviously. Well, there's different numbers out there, but according to this website here, YouTube gets 300 hours of video a minute.
Wow.
1.3 billion people use YouTube total.
Yep, nice. That's why. I mean, I exaggerated massively, but the number is still huge.
It's still staggering. 300 hours of video every minute.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
It's so much that it's impossible to not have automated tools. And while the transparency thing is annoying, like the lack of transparency, I mean, it kind of makes sense. And it's really annoying where I got my stuff flagged and said, hey, demonetized. And then it comes back, oh, you're not demonetized. But, I'm not going to tell you why it happened in the first place. Just figure it out yourself. Good luck. And I still don't know. I have a couple guesses, but they have no weight behind them. It's just randomness.
Yep.
But, Linux is not the bad guy. YouTube is not the bad guy. Zemlin's not the bad guy. Let's just chill, man.
It's just the pure popularity of the platform that causes it additional problems, I think.
Yeah. It's probably it's because they are the platform. They are the platform. So anything they do. What was funny is like there was a quote from one of the developers of YouTube at YouTube. He was I think he was like an infrastructure engineer. He said a quote that is like perfectly describing their situation. We are basically like an enormous giant walking around billions of ants. We make one step, we could crush ants, like crush people. We could crush them. Even if we move slightly, we would crush them. So we have to be incredibly careful every time we do anything, because otherwise we'll crush even more, because we're going to crush something, some point, some level. It's going to happen every time we move anything. We just have to make sure that we don't crush as much. We make as little crushing as possible is their goal. And if you think about it, that's true, because there's so many things that if they just changed one slight tweak in an algorithm, longer videos are better. Videos that are done more often are better. Just changing anything like that is like massive difference to people who are creators. So I think it's a very apt quote.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but it's past pumpkin time. So
I think it's past the stream pumpkin time too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I'm going to call it quits. Talk to you guys next time.
See you, Barbara.
Bye, all.
Okay, Barbara. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, I think you've passed your 2-hour limit.
Mm-hmm.
Rocco.
Yeah, I think I have to, man. So everybody have a last word? Michael, you don't get a last word. You had your last word last week.
I've had most all the words today, so.
Zeb?
Mine's behind me.
Peppermint.
Yeah.
Okay. Colin?
Last words. Can I skip for now?
Sure. Joe?
Linux is life for those who take the time to learn it.
Nice.
Like it. Dinner, you're going to say something, Dinner.
Oh, is it back to me, is it? Already?
I'll just go with this.
All right. All right. Yep, chill. Last words.
How much did you pay him for that?
Wow. You got advertising everywhere, dude. You are spending so much money here. I don't know what's going on.
Perfect. Now we got to get we just got to have it where every single square there's just some Linux is everywhere thing just showing somewhere in there. It'd be perfect. Perfect. But so what was yours, Colin?
Oh, look, I'll just give it PC TLC again. Go and watch me vids.
All right. So tuxdigital.com/PCTLC.
Yeah.
It still works.
.com.au.
All right, Michael, last word.
Tuxdigital.com/DOSGeek. And tuxdigital.com/BigDaddyLinux.
Wow. Yeah. DestinationLinux.org. How's that?
Is almost as good as tuxdigital.com, but we'll say it's okay.
Okay. All right. Everybody have a great night.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, who's the person on your stream? On your podcast? That's your last word. Go ahead.
No. You can't do that to Ryan. He's not here to shut you up. So I'll shut you up for you. Yeah, no, you can't do that. Nearly got there, Michael, but I'm going to be the moderator.
So fun.
All right. See you.
See you all later.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.